Yo, sup, bruh? What up, y'all? I am currently chilling. I'm doing this little job tonight, so I need somebody to talk to, because I plan on coming back and plotting with some content I'll be uploading. Where you at? I am inside a company car right now. So they're catching up on some projects with my business because they needed assistance with one of these little company cars. Normally, they asked me for a favor. They said, stack them dollars. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, stack them dollars. Got to. But doing them a favor in regards to, I needed assistance with one of these vehicles at one of the stations because normally they had me do like a little gig where I clean them out on the weekends. They pay me a nice little commission for that. So I'm going to be here for the rest of the night just on standby. So I thought that I'd talk to my people on the YouTube space, while I got the little bit of time that I have here as I sit here in my thoughts alone, pondering on my next move. Because that's one thing that we gotta be keep our head on a swivel. As I was thinking about this concept earlier, it says original Supreme hoodie, OG. Now what's up? I'm assuming you're referring to the video that I made. Yeah, they was the one that they were saying my ish was fake. That's what they was calling. They were saying it was fake. But yeah, man, that's crazy that you remember that. I actually forgot that I made a video about that. This was actually given to me as a gift. So, so that's cool. Y'all staying in tune, keeping your head on the swivel. You say, yes, sir. You already know. Yeah, I look forward to making some brand new content because, I don't even look at my old stuff anymore. It's like so in the past now that, when I'm moving forward, I don't even like to look at the old stuff and think about the stuff of to the future and moving forward. Because I was thinking about this concept earlier that, they teach us society by and large when it comes to school system, when it comes to, since we were at a young age, they teach you what to think, but they don't teach you how to think. How do you critically think and reasonably question things? They don't teach you that. They just teach you how to follow orders and cooperate with whatever the curriculum that's given to you, but never to question the idea to think outside of the box that there's more to what is being given to me. And in fact, you're actually failed for thinking outside of the box. And that's not even how reality and life works by and large. So I was just thinking about that. And I definitely wanted to make a video touching on that that's the problem with people today in society by and large, that it's not an issue as far as with receiving information, but critically thinking how this information affects my life and the impact that it will cause. And he said slavery, basically mental slavery. Nothing has changed but the year, seriously. And so therefore, the information that we are receiving by and large is inaccurate information, and it's by design. It's designed to distract you from a bigger and um, more meaningful purpose in life than what's been given to you. And I was just really thinking about like my childhood and certain things that I used to, I guess you could call, be rebellious with, not wanting to follow instructions, but not because I just wanted to be lawlessness and I just didn't want to follow the rules because I just wanted to be rebel just simply because I wanted my way, but the idea that I always had that ingrained nature that what is being given to us is not necessarily, this is not the only option that we have. And there's more to it than what's being fed to us. And how certain concepts didn't resonate with me. And that goes for all of it with the organized, institutionalized way of doing things when essentially I knew that I rose above this. Because even doing like simpler things, like I remember I would finish my classwork early. And so while everybody else was working on the assignments, I used to doodle and do different artwork because this was like in second or third grade. And I remember I would create different artwork on the paper. It was like, I forgot what type of assignment it was, but I would doodle and make some real colorful, uh, abstract drawings on the front of it. And I remember the teacher used to compliment me and say, "Wow, beautiful," and put different remarks as she gave me the A plus because that's what they do with kids and people in general, that they indoctrinate you to not think outside of the box. They make it seem like if you make a failure, that's it, you're done. There's no other option. You got a F. That's as far as you're going to get in life, and you will not succeed anything further than what the assignment that you are getting. But the great thing about it with today, and that's what I love about the innovation with technology and how things are moving forward when it comes to disrupting what's being told to us. He said, graffiti tagged it up. I did, bro. I did. That's a good way of putting it. I definitely tagged it. I sure did. Um, and that's what I love about, the generation to come, that certain concepts that you would never even fathom and thought that this is the only option that we have, and one example is like Uber. Uber disrupted the market and goes to show you that you didn't need a traditional taxi. You could do it all on the internet. Originally they tell you stranger danger, don't get in a car with a stranger, beware. Don't meet anybody off the internet. And what do? You meet somebody off the internet. You get in a car with a stranger. All these different concepts that we're told that, these certain, I guess you want to say, barriers that they put around your way of thinking and framework, which is essentially for control. But I love the way that we are moving forward and disrupting certain concepts that people would never imagine that you would be able to do. A lot of these, even when it comes to like the hotels, they disrupt the market as far as the hotel. You would never imagine that somebody could utilize their personal property or their home as a hotel unit to rent out the space to give them experience as a local. But it takes that individual to disrupt it and change the system and the way of thinking and not following what the status quo tells you to do. He said, "Man, you speaking facts. Where all the fans at? People missing all this knowledge." I mean, I'm like I said, I'm holding some of this in. These are different concepts that I'm coming with, different videos, and I want to do some certain graphics and really break it down on how this everything from a young age were all lied to. It was all a lie. Everything that they've told us thus far has been a lie. And you don't have to go through life constantly trying to figure it out with all these different options that they try to throw at you and make it seem like your options are limited to only these two. And it's just simply not true. You don't have to bump your head and think that this is the only option that you must do. And it's just simply not true. And that's why I love that the innovation with technology and the information is getting out there that, just for example, like uh, A lot of people thought that they had to go to the office. They're finding more and more that you don't need to go to the office. They could have been doing the same exact job as a remote somewhere else, and you didn't have to physically get up first thing in the morning and see that these little boxes that they're putting in, people are starting to figure it out, just like they're working towards 4-day work weeks. And you really don't have to, in order for productivity to get things done, you don't have to work 9 to 5. And so it's putting it in the hands of the consumer and slash the individuals who have the creativity and the ability to find other better, more efficient ways to get something done. And that's what nobody really talks about to that degree. They constantly put propaganda out there and talk about all the destructive things, but they don't talk about the things that are beneficial, that can make things more efficient and move society much further. But they have you nitpick and pay attention to stuff that's just completely just pointless from the greater goal, and get everybody mad at each other and upset with differences of opinion. And meanwhile, you got all these mechanisms that really can move you forward and make things more efficient so that you can achieve your goal much greater than what you could have ever accomplished in life. I mean, it just blows my mind, like how they really have gotten a strong hold on people's minds to control them, to really control them and keep them in a fear of scarcity and a fear of doubtfulness and a very gloom, hopeless type of mentality. It's truly pathetic. They control the market, bro. We playing ball in their court, home court and advantage like a mother. Exactly. And you hear guys like Andrew Tate talk about the Matrix, and in a way it is set up like a Matrix, where people are really go through life stuck in this warped idea of reality, completely unconscious that you are literally being controlled as a pawn, and the powers that be, that you're only enriching them and helping them achieve the goal of more mind control. Like, that's the wild part. Like, you don't even, that's the worst thing ever, is to be in a situation where you're being controlled and you don't understand how you are the pieces on the puzzle being utilized. That's the wild part. That's the sinister part. Is that it's unconscious. You have no idea. You go through your life thinking you're doing the so-called right thing. Meanwhile, you are literally feeding the agenda to what they're trying to get you trapped in. Everything is a lie. From the American dream, what they're telling you to get a house and buy a car. You know what that is? You know what that whole setup is? To enrich another corporation, such as, which is enriched as far as the concept of consumerism. When it comes to buying cars, what is that? Putting you more in debt. They want to get you a loan. What is buying a house? Get a loan. Those are all things that put you in debt that they can charge you with interest on, and to only enrich their goal and what they're trying to achieve. But they'll never teach you to, okay, put you in that seat of where they are at, which is buy a house, but don't live in that house, but set it up where other people can rent from you. And then you have several houses that you own in which they pay you to stay on your dime. See, those are it's a mind shift. And that's the thing. They're never going to put it in that point of view where you are looking at things from a bullseye view, and you can see how these moving components work. They're never going to put it in that aspect. They want you to pay bills until the day you die. They're saying that, Social Security, the ability to, when you retire, that they pay your retirement and your dues of doing all your service, your I forget the terminology, but your time of service of working. They're saying that's going to dry up come 2034 or something like that. And so that's what I'm saying. It's all a trap, and they're not empowering people to get the information and shift your mind with how you think with this information that you receive. Because at this point, people are getting information, but they don't know how to utilize that information or apply it in a way that is truly beneficial. It says everything you're saying is how they think and how they tell others around me. Nobody listens to people. Need to wake up and face the facts. Exactly. Exactly, bro. And that's what I'm saying. And that's what I want to empower people on this channel, that we are greater than what what they're feeding us. We have so much more potential, and we can think outside of the box and be enlightened and truly be a luminary, where we are in understanding of the truth. And see, and that's the thing. A lot of people are in darkness. They really they don't they don't understand it, and they're not trying to critically think. They're just trying to survive. And that's not living. If you out here surviving and not thriving, that's a problem. Especially when we're in a prosperous country such as America. Because America is set up like a business. Well, it is a business. There is no reason why you cannot be in a enriched country and not reap the benefits of how the system and how the game works. But that's where you as an individual have to do your due diligence and self-educate, also known as autodidactic, and do the proper research and be directed to a destination to get you to where you're trying to achieve, to which is on a much greater level than is higher than what is the average. And so a lot of individuals don't understand it, and that's why for the people who get it, they get it. And you're going to make great strides to move forward. But sometimes you need that extra push and perspective that nobody is giving you the full picture of your potential. That's where where people become confused, and they really are unsure of what they want to move move with their next move. And so that's why it gets deep. And I understand it. I see it clear as day. It's like a deer in the headlights. But for others, they have an idea, but they just don't know how to execute it. They don't know where to start. A lot of them think that you have to be filthy rich as far as to get to a certain level, or and you really don't. You just need the proper mentor. You have the proper person to give you the backing, and understand that you're not alone, and understand that there's more options, and the pathway of where you're going is much more achievable than what you think it is. It's not as complicated, because that's the thing, that what makes something seem impossible is adding complexity to it. When things are very, very simple and easy to understand. If somebody has to use a whole bunch of complicated words, and they have to fluff it up and make it seem more sophisticated than what it is, 9 times out of 10, it's some BS involved in it. Because if it can't be explained in such a way to a fifth grader, to a little kid, where I can explain this, where it's in the simplest form, where they can understand what I'm saying, then I really don't understand what I'm actually trying to convey, you know? Because that's the thing that kills me with people. Like, they think they're so knowledgeable by using all these complicated jargon. Meanwhile, just adds to more complexity and confusion because you can't take the information and say it in such a way that is concise and clear. Like, that's the thing that really kills me is people that want to give you the runaround. They may be intelligent, but they don't know how to utilize that intelligence where it can be understood. And that's another issue I have with so-called people who are knowledgeable. It's just like, man, just get to the point. Like, I listen to a lot of videos and podcasts. It's just like, man, this could have been condensed down to so much um on a much more simpler way of explaining this, like lawyer contracts. Exactly. Whole bunch of unnecessary jargon. Just like I was entertaining myself with Chat GPT, and I wanted to see the difference between Illinois' law, which is the state that I'm in, and Indiana's law when it came to, because I remember I read an article like a couple of months ago where it was talking about in Indiana that it was like a big viral thing where they were saying how you can legally deadly shoot an officer if they intrude onto your property, and it's totally legal in Indiana. You can use legal force. And so I wanted to see the difference between Illinois' law, if that's the case too, as far as like what's the difference. And so when I'm reading it, it was so complex and convoluted with how they're explaining it, which they're essentially saying the same thing. And I'll give you an example. So they say that in Indiana, you can use reasonable or deadly force if it fits the criteria of what is considered to be, uh, self-defense, or you feel as though there's a threat to your life. It's applicable. So my thing is, okay, what's the difference between Illinois' law? And they say that it's not applicable necessarily, but if it's within the strict conditions of what is considered to be deadly force, then it can be possibly honored as okay to use deadly force. And then it was talking about how there's a distinctive difference between the two. But I'm like, what's the difference? It sounds like the same thing. The only difference is the Indiana law states a condition in which you can, whereas Illinois doesn't have a side section that says condition, but it's still ultimately saying the same thing, that it's conditional. If your life is in danger and a cop intrudes on your personal private property and you use deadly force and it's within reason, but they make it seem like they're saying two different things, but ultimately they're saying the same thing. They're just rewording it in certain ways, but it's just like, see, this is what I'm talking about. But you make it seem like you word and you abuse words and try to find technicalities in your language to make it sound like it's something else than what it actually is. And that's the thing that kills me with our government. I mean, don't even get me started with how twisted and corrupted the government is, and it's set up like that by design. But that's why you have to beat them at their own game, which is understanding certain codes and get around that. He said, none of that matters when skin color comes into play. We live in racism. Shoot, as far as I'm concerned, that's going to be hard to explain. You kill a cop, it's going to be hard to explain. I'll just leave it at that. It's going to be hard to explain that it was within reason that you just killed this cop. I mean, seriously. Like, that's going to be very, very hard. I don't care what state it is. I don't care if they say that you can use deadly force or not. Their BS law should state color of skin matters. But overall, killing a cop is just not a good thing to be said on the record. Technically, any color for that matter. You're a cop killer, that's going to be hard to explain. Because you got to understand this government, United States government, is biased when it comes to protecting their own. And they're usually going to side with the cop, which is on their side over yours. I mean, cops are literally set up like, uh, I've read articles where it said that it's set up just like the mob. Like they are basically the criminal, but just in the opposite. They think just like a criminal, but just on the opposite opposing side. So somebody said F12. And they just hid that too. They hid your comment. They said that's inappropriate. It's inappropriate. See, it's the Matrix. It's the Matrix. They're attacking the comment section. They don't want this information out. He said F12. Can't say that I'm a fan of the 12 myself. Can't say I am a fan because I'm not. Absolutely not. But yeah, man. I mean, the world that we live in is a very, very twisted and tangled up on purpose to confuse you, to the point where it's getting so bad that you have to question your own sanity of like, is up really up? Is down really down? Is this really? And that's where, you really got to navigate appropriately so that you're not misguided, because it's easy to fall into a trap of being misguided. Seriously. There's so much BS out there, it's just not even funny. I mean, it's getting out of control, and that's why you gotta keep control and keep your own sanity with this foolishness that's out there, because it's increasingly getting larger and larger and larger with just nonsense. I mean, it just blows my mind how you can just stretch and turn and make a story that was harmless and turn it into something that is somehow detrimental. I mean, it just blows my mind how they can do that. How they can switch your words, like you could be completely harmless of what you're saying, but then somehow, some way, after it's all said and done, now all of a sudden it sounds like you said something completely different from your original statement. It's wild, absolutely wild. But that's part of the agenda of what they're doing out here. I mean, it's getting really, really clownish, like a clown show. I'll never understand it. Never understand it at all. But that's why we at the KevX channel, the League of Experts, we gotta show and stand up loud and proud that we are not part of this, and we gotta represent and take a strong stance to understand that we're different and we moving different out here, and we will not to surrender to a lie just to appease people's feelings, personal feelings. We won't. We refuse to. I know I know I do. I refuse to do that. I'm not surrendering my integrity, my dignity, simply to make you feel good about yourself. Like, no. That's the definition of a loser, a person who is weak mentally and physically. And that's what I'm saying. Some of the greatest men, they took it to the grave, literally, to the point where you're gonna have to kill me for it. I mean, simply put, for me to change. And that's a strong mind and strong dedication for standing up for the truth. Because the truth is colorless, genderless. It's not biased. It has no skin color. The truth is the truth, regardless of how you fit it, how much you put. You change the size of it. Doesn't matter the size, the weight. The truth is the truth. But they'll try to make it seem like it's more than what meets the eye, and they want to have you question the truth. Like, I don't know, I don't know. It's subjective. The truth is subjective. The truth is definitely not subjective. And so, and that's why you got to be careful with individuals that try to do little Jedi mind tricks with your reasoning. Be very cautious of that. Do not allow somebody to question your own sanity. It says the police is the biggest gang. Sadia said it's all messed up in the world. Yeah, it really is. It really is. And that's why, a lot of people think that you got to be loud and proud as far as with um, your your thoughts, but really your character and how you carry yourself and what people witness of how you interact, and they will see your goodness within you and how you conduct yourself from your walk, how the way that you dress, the way that you conduct yourself, the way that you conduct business. Like for instance, I'll give you all an example that this was like a couple of months ago where I was inside of a Subway, and I think I was on my way to Best Buy, but I wanted to get me something to eat first. So what ended up happening was I forgot my headphones in my car, but I was hungry. I was like, man, I don't feel like going back to the car. So I was just like, forget it. I'll just, what I was listening to, it was talking about building a business, and it was like building a business versus the stock market or something like that, right? So I decided to play it. I said, this may be beneficial to somebody else that may be listening. So I got my food, I sat down, I had the speakers up loud, and I'm listening to where it was talking about building a business versus investing your money into the stock market. So I'm eating my food, minding my own business. And so then all of a sudden, there was this old man that on his way out, he said, young man, he said, how many people do you see, such as yourself, that is self-educating yourself at this while you're eating? And he said that I must say that you inspired me. He said that I am currently trying to increase my income. I'm currently studying cybersecurity, and I just want to let you know that you motivated me looking at you, and I am truly impressed. Now, I don't even know this guy. I didn't even know he was looking and watching me from a distance, and he was just astonished with my character that I was sitting there educating myself. And mind you, I was only listening to it because I left my headphones in the car. But that's what I mean by the example of your conduct. And it wasn't that I was trying to bring attention to myself either. But people can see it in you without you saying a word, based off of how you conduct yourself in person. Because a lot of people believe that you're supposed to shove ideology down somebody's throat and they'll eventually get it. But no, you don't. It can be subtle, such as that, where the people can see that there's something different about you. And that's what I want to exude, greatness in people, for them to see it on you where you don't have to say two words. And even if you do speak, the few words that you see, they can get a sense of goodness from you naturally, and it's not forced. And see, and that's powerful. That's a true measurement to let you know that you're different without you saying that you're different. Because a lot of people have a bad habit of believing that if I try to convince this person or tell this person that I'm different, then somehow, some way, they'll understand it. But no, you don't have to do any of that. People can see, they can understand. And that's actually throughout history, that's how it used to be, when somebody could determine if you were intelligent based off of how you dressed, the certain words that you use, without you physically telling them that you were intelligent. That's how it was in ancient times of people understanding from different tribes, and they can determine if you were intelligent based off of the certain sophistication of your words, how you articulate your words, the cadence of how you say your words. That's what determines true measurements of a person's character, of how you conduct yourself. And that's important. And a lot of people ignore those nuanced details. He said that the system is set up for failure. Freedom ain't free unless you pay taxes. Well, there's certain different tax strategies. I'm not a CPA, and I'm not trying to give out tax advice, but there's ways around it as far as with the tax code, and that's why you got to learn how the system works because I wouldn't even say that it's set up to failure. It's set up